In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. And that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never strayed from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right. Welcome in, everyone. It is May 18th. This is the In Between Fantasy Footballs podcast, our rookie preview part 2. Let's get pumped up, guys. Seth Woolcock here joining you today. We also have chef, realtor, fantasy football expert, Nathan Polvo, back dialed in today. What's up, Nate?
What's up, man? You keep calling me a chef, and I'm honored because I guess I kind of like have to do a cooking show now, but I'm all football these days.
You are a chef in my book, buddy.
One of these days, I'm going to cook you guys all a meal. Maybe it'll be at the Expo. Who knows? We're going to do it. Great day, though, man. Went to a Rockies game, got to geek out on some baseball. Now it's time to talk some football.
Hell yeah, Nate. We also have construction manager by day, dad on the daily, and data analyst by night, Scott Rainier. Scott, how's it going out there in Seattle, baby?
Good evening. It's windy. You can kind of see it out my window. It's been sunny today, but very, very, very windy. And just quick shout out, today is the 42nd anniversary of the eruption of Mount St. Helens. And at some point, maybe in a Monday's article, I will tell my story as to how my family connects to that event.
Oh, that sounds like a good one. I'm looking forward
I really want to read about this. Yes.
Yeah, looking forward to that, man. RIP to all those lost in that explosion. I'm not sure if anyone was, but I'm just saying if there was, RIP to them. Man.
I don't think there were any fatalities.
No, there were. I think that's Pompeii you're thinking of.
Were there?
Yeah, it was like 15.
A handful of like hikers and people who lived close to the mountain.
15. RIP, baby. Also, guys, tonight on the show, we have a very special guest, Florida businessman, writer for Roto Baller, and the podcast host for High Floor Football, Sam, the Grand Salami Wagman. What's up, Sam?
Man, that's a hell of an intro right there. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a day for me. I spent the early part of it driving. I'm in Houston now, part of a long work trip, and I've been running around all day. But I'm happy to come on here and talk some rookies with you guys.
Old Houston, man. Old H-Town. What's good in H-Town out there, Sam?
I'm not sure much. It's about 100 degrees here. I'm sweating parts of my body that I don't even want to talk about off. And it's been rough. At least in Florida, we got the wind near the water to offset the heat, but it's all dry. It's humid, and I hate it out here.
Fair enough.
Tell us how you really feel, man. Be honest here.
Well, guys, tonight on the show, we are absolutely loaded. We're going to talk about our rookie wide receiver class and the rookie tight end class. We're going to break it down redraft style. Should you be investing these guys in your 2022 leagues? If you want to hear more about the RB class or the QB class, Nate and we broke that all down yesterday. Kyle was with us as well. Shout out to Kyle in the back end. Yeah, can we get a little hand of it?
Absolutely.
Kyle, man. Absolutely. There we go. Kyle, thank you for your service back there, man. Speaking of Kyle, he's also going to be doing a very important job for us tonight. He's going to be keeping track of comments tonight. If you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you're tuning in via YouTube, leave us a comment, and we're going to add you to our giveaway that we're doing tonight. It is for Draft Night Out, which is the largest fantasy football draft event in the U.S., baby. I don't know about Canada. I don't know about Mexico. I know those guys over in the UK, they party hard, so they might be going harder than Draft Night Out, guys. But here, it's going to be in Canton, Ohio, August 13th, part of the Fantasy Football Expo in the Dome, man. In the Dome.
Right?
Yeah, man. Like that's fantasy football, Disneyland for us up there.
Yeah, man. I mean, we get to draft at the Hall of Fame. So, as a football nerd, which I think all 4 of us here are, like, what an awesome time. And all you have to do is subscribe to our channel, comment, and you're entered for a chance for a free entry into this amazing event. Like, it's that simple, guys. Just do it, and it'll be a blast. Maybe you can draft with one of us.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Cooperative Media Network, our guys over there, Dale DeMont from Eat Sleep Fantasy, hooking us up with that. We appreciate it, guys. As Nate said, easiest way you can support our channel, easiest way you can enter this giveaway, subscribe, leave us a comment. We really appreciate all support, guys. Kyle, keep manning that list back there, man. We're going to go ahead and jump into front and center.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. How about you come to the place where you have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. You can come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, guys, let's talk about this loaded wide receiver class. Because, Nate, you and I kind of broke down the running backs yesterday, and it was a little bit of dissing just kind of on the class as a whole, mixed in with the QBs there as well. So, Nate, what are your overall impressions of this wide receiver class we have here in 2022? It's been a loaded couple coming into it.
Well, the landing spots are interesting, and I think that's something obviously that we're going to kind of break down here. We saw some players go higher than we thought. We saw some receivers land in places where maybe they're not going to get opportunity for their first season or two, where we were hoping they would. It's an interesting class to break down. I think there's a lot we don't know yet that we're going to find out in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season about a lot of these guys.
Scott, any thoughts? I know you've kind of been breaking these guys down from an analytical point of view the last couple months, really. So what was your overall impression when you looked at this class as compared to what's been a loaded 2021 class and a loaded 2020 class as well?
I mean, I agree. I think it's yet another loaded class. It lacks that just superstar absolute stud like your Justin Jefferson or your Jamar Chase, but it's still fairly top heavy. I mean, you've got, a good 10 receivers that I think can have fantasy relevance in their first few years. So, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how some of these landing spots play out. Some of them were not perfect for fantasy. Some of them were fairly ideal for fantasy. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Guys, and it starts with the 8th overall pick in the draft. That was Drake London. And we've had a lot of heated discussion in the IBT group chat. Yeah, in the IBT group chat, in the IBT Discord. And Drake London is a super interesting prospect here, guys. He profiles as an alpha wide receiver, 6'4", 220. You got to love the frame there. But it's a very high draft capital that not only the Falcons paid for half a year of elite collegiate production, but also what you're paying for in fantasy football right now. He's the wide receiver 33 in underdog drafts. Sam, I want to start with you, man. What's been your overall impression of Drake London, and do you think it translates to the next level here in year one?
Well, I think if there's someone that you have to talk about as the guy in this class, like off the rip, it's got to be London here, because he's the guy that's going to get a ton of targets in year one. And the only other person I think in this class that you can say that right away and will do a lot with those targets is someone like Treylon Burks, who also walks into a ton of production. But they both walk into situations where they have the chance to be the number one target in that offense pretty simply. In London's case, the only other person that's there is Kyle Pitts. After that, you got guys like Alden Tate and a bunch of other Jags that really don't make a difference. So for London, he presents a really good target for Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder, whoever wins that QB battle out of camp, because you can just chuck it up to him. He's going to be a guy that not only can he do damage downfield with the contested catches and the 50-50 balls and in the red zone, but he also profiles as a guy who's really good in the short to intermediate area of the field as well, which is kind of a really underrated part of his game. So I'm really interested to see what happens there right away. Like I said, this is a Falcons team that's not going to be winning many games. They're going to be trailing. They're going to be coming from behind, and they're going to have to throw the ball. And I think Drake London can probably easily get over 100 targets in year one.
Ooh,
and
okay.
it'll depend. It'll depend what he can do with them. And that's going to depend a lot on his QB play. But I think that he is set up for a ton of success.
Scott, do you worry at all? Marcus Mariota, outside of a Delaney Walker 1,000-yard season, he has never produced a 1,000-yard receiver. Very up and down career for Mariota here. If he gets the jump from the go, which I think is most likely, are you concerned at all about Drake London?
I mean, I do have some concerns. I mean, that's why I'm saying he's not like the Jamar Chase. I mean, he does have his knocks analytically with some of his statistics in college. He didn't really blow you out of the water in any of the advanced metrics. But that's why we're not talking about him. He's not necessarily super explosive or really lightning fast. But that's why we're not talking about him as being Julio Jones. We're talking about him as being a really solid receiver. And I am a little bit concerned about Mariota. But with Mariota, if he still has some of that mobility, I mean, one thing that London excels in is killing zones. And I think one thing he would excel in as well is when a play breaks down and Mariota's scrambling, of finding that space and getting open, like a Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson type situation. I think he'll be a go-to guy in those scenarios when it turns into kind of more backyard football. Mariota, it's not the best. It's not the most ideal quarterback landing spot, but I agree with Sam. I don't see why he couldn't get 100 targets, and he's going to play. He's going to start from the get-go. It's a bad team. It's going to be a bad offense, but as we've seen in fantasy, that doesn't necessarily kill fantasy production from the skill positions.
And that's the important part. What you just said is it doesn't matter if the team's bad. That doesn't kill fantasy production.
Mm-hmm.
I think what does concern me about Drake London, though, here, guys, is a little bit, he is good with 50-50 balls, but also 46% of his career receptions in college came within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's something I'm not, so sure on from an alpha guy. And he only averaged, he was 241st in the entire college football scene in yards after catch. So he doesn't, average a lot of yak. He has a low ADOT. So I do worry about that a little bit, that you could be, if he does see 100 targets, I just don't think that gets it done, especially in an offense that Nate and I talked about last night. Probably going to be in the lower fourth in scoring overall. Nate, what are your thoughts here on London?
So Drake London reminds me of Demaryius Thomas in his skill set. Like, he's not gifted, super gifted in any one area, but he does enough in every area to be useful in every area of an offense. Bubble screens, short plays, but he can go deep. He can, on those 50-50 jump balls, he can win those. He wasn't asked to do a lot. I think something we forget when we're evaluating rookies is we don't look at everything that they did based on the system they were in.
For sure.
Good example. This is like Jeremy Ruckert, which we'll get to later, but Ohio State just doesn't use tight end. So we didn't get the full sample. We didn't get the full sample of Drake London. I think that he's a guy who sees 115, 120 targets in this offense. I like Mariota more than everybody else does in this situation, but I think he's a guy who can have a wide receiver one season as a rookie.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Dude, on volume,
that's a risk to my blood.
Look,
Nate,
I think wide receiver 33. Wide receiver 33 is fine for me.
I'm not saying I think it's necessarily going to happen, but what I'm saying is simply I think that of any of these rookie receivers, he's the one who's most likely to pop and have a wide receiver one season. I'm not saying don't hang your hat on that. I'm not saying I think it's necessarily going to. He's the most likely of this class to do it, given situation, the amount of volume he's about to see.
Oh, geez. All right.
You don't have to like it.
Dude.
I mean, here's the deal. We are kind of paying for half a senior season, but in that 7-ish games, I think in half the games he averaged over 130 receiving yards, and then he had over 160 receiving yards in a few of them. He was second if you look at best season target share. Best season targets per game. He was second. He had the second most targets per game of any of the receivers that came out in this class. So the yards, the ADOT doesn't really concern me too much, because he showed with 130 and 160 yard games that didn't really, there's still 54% of his catches that are going beyond that. Plus, when Mariota last played full seasons, he was pretty low on the totem pole as far as average intended air yards, so quarterback ADOT. So it might play right into Mariota's strength.
Well, and Mariota, to be fair, he didn't have a field-stretching wide receiver when he was in Tennessee. He had Delaney Walker. That was all he had. Delaney Walker led that team in targets every season that Mariota started.
Now they got Brian Edwards for that.
Rashard Matthews and those Bulls down there, Nate. They were a hell of a wide receiver corps, man.
Yeah, man, they were great.
All right, guys.
I will tell you, just based on the offseason discussion that's already going around London, I can't wait to see what happens, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, same.
I'm not willing to invest, honestly, at that price, man. I just think there are better wide receivers you can get. If you want a rookie, you can go after these other guys. Wide receiver 33 is too high for me personally. I think maybe he's a high-end wide receiver 3 max. But
yeah,
I mean, dude, Calvin Ridley struggled in this offense last season, and that was with Matt Ryan. Downgrade the quarterback. Like Calvin Ridley was not balling like he was the season before. People were a little bit upset with that. So
yeah, but I don't know if that was due to his admitted mental health struggles or everything else that was going on with him. So
okay, guys, let's move forward to my wide receiver 1 prospect in this class, Garrett Wilson. He goes 10th overall to my frisky New York Jets, baby. The frisky Jets, they get him. He's 6 foot, 190 out of Ohio State. I think the thing, though, about Garrett Wilson, what I love that I didn't see from Drake London on tape is his great ability to separate. Sometimes he seems a little bit out of control, like he's going so fast. Like it's not super clean route running like Chris Olave has, but he gets the separation and he can explode with it. So I think right now he's stepping into a great situation. He's going to be the X here in the Mike LaFleur offense. This is the same guy who took advantage of Deebo Samuel his rookie year as well. So I really like the system that Garrett Wilson is coming into. I think there's a lot of opportunity here with those 120 vacated targets. Sam, what say you, man?
I'm interested to see what happens here right away with him because this is an offense that's upgraded everywhere. They brought back Mekhi Becton on the offensive line. They brought in Breece Hall to be their superstar running back as, they still have Michael Carter there who's going to take some passing snaps. And they added Garrett Wilson as well as 3 different tight ends that can all catch passes. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the target share breakdown goes down right away. I mean, obviously Garrett Wilson's going to get a healthy amount of the targets. I don't know if he plays the X right away. I have to kind of think that Corey Davis takes that role off rip, and I think we see Wilson shift into kind of like the Z role downfield for them, while Elijah Moore mans the slot. But we saw Moore split out wide a bunch last year as well, and I know Garrett Wilson can flip between the 2 sides and inside as well. So I'm really interested to see what he does. He was also my wide receiver 1 in this class. I really like the way he plays. He's got amazing ball control, and he can separate really well. But he does everything really well. There's nothing that he extremely excels at, but there's also nothing that he really lacks in his repertoire. So it's going to be really nice to see what he does. I think he's going a little higher than he's going to be in year 1. I think that, like I said, I think the targets don't shake out a ton in his favor right away with so many mouths to feed. The Jets aren't exactly contending yet.
They're frisky though. They're frisky, baby.
They're definitely frisky. I mean, with him on the board as wide receiver 44 on Underdog, that's a good place for him. I think I think he probably gets into that wide receiver 4 mix in his year 1, but I think he's a better down the line option. But right away, I think he definitely plays the Z. He might play a downfield role for them since they really don't have a downfield receiver, a guy who excels at that part of the field. And Garrett Wilson was a very good separator, played well on downfield balls, and he can catch the 50-50 ball. He's very athletic. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Scott, hearing what he just said, could be a deep ball target here. We know Zach Wilson, he struggled mightily in the rookie year. 2 things, though, he did well at. Top 5 in deep ball accuracy, top 10 in red zone accuracy. With those 2 metrics in mind, Scott, are you intrigued here by Garrett Wilson enough? I think wide receiver 44, that's a damn bargain to me. especially with Elijah Moore going 10 spots before him at wide receiver 34.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I would be fine taking Garrett Wilson in redraft at that spot. I mean, I have my same concerns. Like, for instance, this is where landing spot actually does play a big factor. Like, if it had been Garrett Wilson, I also had him as my number one in this class with Drake London at 2.
Goat.
What?
No, I just said goat.
Oh.
Your goat.
If Garrett Wilson had been selected by Atlanta, I think it'd be a pretty easy slam dunk in that landing spot with Garrett Wilson with, only Kyle Pitts as his competition. But that's not what happened. So I don't expect it to be right off the bat, but that's why he's going at wide receiver 44. And that's why he's, showing out as a wide receiver 4. But I mean, I agree with everything. He's a super talented receiver. Really good receivers earn targets, no matter how crowded a receiver room is. So, it's just not that much of a risk at that point.
Right.
Drafting him at that point.
Yeah.
Like, there's really not a lot of risk taking him there as whatever wide receiver it ends up being on your team. But it's not somebody you're relying on. You can basically do what the NFL does. You can sit him on your bench and see what happens, So I like it. I would still take London over him in redraft personally.
Okay.
Well, situationally, yeah, Wilson. My concern is Zach Wilson.
Yeah, we know.
I know. And look, I know the talent's there, but something that really stuck with me when I was doing a lot of research on him was his offensive lineman making comments of, dude, we're doing everything we can, but he takes too long to get the ball out of his hands. We can't stop the pressure. These are NFL defenses. What are we supposed to do? If he can't figure that out, it doesn't matter how athletic Garrett Wilson is. But that said, he's going to command, I feel like, a decent-ish target share. Not someone I want in redraft. Dynasty, he's like, what? He's going first, second round, like somewhere right around there. I'm okay with that valuation. But if you're looking at him in redraft, you need to be like picking him up on waivers week 3 or 4 because he's actually seeing some volume. Outside of that,
Nate,
like,
Nate,
no, dude, I won't.
You're gonna be the guy. Like, I'm gonna be the one guy in all of our leagues to have Garrett Wilson locked and loaded in the draft, and you're gonna have Drake London a few rounds earlier.
For me, like, I mean, I'm not as far down on Zach Wilson as Nate is, but that is still a concern for me. I mean, they've added all this talent, and you would think by some of the conversations going on that all of a sudden Zach Wilson's just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now,
right.
Here's the deal, though. Like, the comment about taking too long to throw. Well, look at the offensive weapons he had last year, and now look at the offensive weapons he'll have this year. The different options he'll have, the different guys that can get open faster. A couple of veteran savvy tight ends as safety valves. So if he's able to get rid of it's kind of chicken and the egg. Was he not getting rid of the ball because he's not good, or because people weren't getting open, or was it both? But I have to think there's going to be more explosiveness in that offense. And, the more he succeeds, the more confidence he'll build. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to take some huge leap forward, but I'm not burying, a first round quarterback quite yet.
Well, and that's fair. My concern is that it's an ability to read defenses.
Yeah, I mean,
and the field and the play developing. And if that's the issue, what you just said is the issue, then he can fix that. But if he can't read defenses and he couldn't pick it up by the end of his first season, like, that's a concern for
Mike LaFleur's
an
a
NFL quarterback.
good coach, man. I
know that.
I have a lot of faith in him that he's going to get it done. But guys, let's move forward here. We do have Chris Olave next on deck here, Ohio State teammate of Garrett Wilson, and he was a player that a lot of us possibly expected to come out here in 2021. He decided to stay for his senior season. It paid off for him. He's turned into a great crispy route runner the last couple years. But overall has great high-end value in the deep ball area as well. So with that all in mind, crispy route runner, 4.39 40-yard dash time. Is he someone you guys are interested in with Jameis Winston slinging him the ball? I loved Chris Olave pre-draft. Right now, he has Jarvis Landry to compete with, in addition to Michael Thomas. Kind of muddied the water for a little bit on that for me. Scott, I know we kind of had this discussion on Twitter a couple days ago as well.
Well, it's just funny because, I think the last pod I was on, you were higher on Olave than me, and now I think I'm higher on Olave than you.
Okay.
I honestly really like this landing spot. And again, it is muddied a little bit by the Jarvis Landry signing, but I think it's a great fit for Olave. I mean, I think Winston, he's not he's not. It's funny that we're talking about Winston and Mariota, the 1 and 2 from 2015 draft, 2022. Right. Anyway, I like the landing spot, and I mean, we'll see what happens as this. The fact that they brought in Landry, they have Callaway. There's writing on the wall that maybe Michael Thomas is not going to play for the Saints this year. So I mean, obviously that would change things. But as it stands now, with all those receivers, I'm willing to take a shot on him in redraft later in the draft.
Wide receiver 43 right now, so one spot above Garrett Wilson.
Well, I'm not taking him ahead of Garrett Wilson. That might be a little too high for me for Olave, unless Michael Thomas leaves.
Yeah,
Jameis is a gunslinger, though, man. Like that's what the dude does. He throws a lot of picks, but he also throws a lot of touchdowns.
That was pre-LASIK Jameis, though, Nate. That was pre-LASIK Jameis, though. He's got
That's true. That's true.
Post LASIK Jameis is going to be throwing the ball down the field with pinpoint accuracy.
It's tough to tell, though, because last season, for the limited amount of sample size we saw from him, too, he didn't have receivers. He had Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, insert Traquan Smith, and
Adam Troutman.
Yeah, exactly. Sam, are you any more interested in Olave than the rest of us?
For redraft, I definitely am. I mean, look, I'm also reading into this receivers thing as a sign that Michael Thomas, isn't ready. That's definitely where I'm at right now, is that he's not ready, because they keep saying he's got hurdles. You're reading between the lines of what they say, and they keep saying he's got hurdles, but they don't say that about Jameis. They said that we like where he's at in his recovery, and he's going to be ready. They haven't said that about Michael Thomas. I don't know if I'm thinking that he's going to be not on the Saints. I don't think he's healthy, and I think this ankle thing definitely was more complicated than we've been led to believe. That definitely explains to me why Jarvis Landry was signed, other than the hometown thing. Marquez Callaway is Marquez Callaway. I don't know if he's a Jag. I don't know if he's a decent deep threat. But what I do know is Chris Olave. What I do know is Chris Olave is probably the most pro-ready receiver in this draft. And I agree with that. Like we said, he went back to school. Yep. He went back to school. He obviously felt that he wasn't ready, but he's the most crisp route runner in this draft, and he's a solid deep threat to boot. So he can do it all, and his reception perception profile is like sterling clean. It's one of the cleaner draft profiles that we've seen coming out in a little while. And what I got from that is that he can run any route. He can run the short routes. He can run the intermediate routes. He can run the deep routes. And we saw that at Ohio State. Him and Justin Fields, him and CJ Stroud, they were on the money. So Olave, to me, is someone that should outperform that wide receiver 43 ranking right away, because I just think he's going to get the reps. I don't think we see a healthy Michael Thomas right now. And that could change. Wow.
That changed my thoughts a lot on him. Like, hearing this from you guys, this theory, because I've kind of been under the assumption that MT is going to be healthy and ready to go. But I do love Olave, the talent. He was my number 2 wide receiver prospect coming into this thing. I was definitely a lot higher than the consensus on him. But, like, to me, he reminds me of, and I think I've said this on the show before, Emmanuel Sanders, route running, football IQ, big play, though, ability of Brandon Cooks. I don't think Manny Sanders always had that big play ability, whether it's in Pittsburgh or Denver. But Brandon Cooks has that. And I see that with Chris Olave a little bit. So I kind of see him as a hybrid of the two. I like what you guys are saying. Are you willing to pay wide receiver 43 price, Nate? That's the question, though. That is the golden question here.
So, yeah, absolutely. I am. I had no issue with it at all. I think the opportunity
over Jarvis.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think by mid-season, I mean, Jarvis Landry is a guy who's going to help Olave grow, and that's what he is. I think at a certain point, the team, he's a locker room guy, and he's going to get plenty of targets. He's a talented receiver. He'll play a really important role in this offense. But yeah, I would take Olave ahead of Landry.
Okay, guys.
I think especially if you're when you're going into playoffs, your fantasy playoffs, that's when Olave is probably going to start to pop. So, like, if you look at it that way, if you're you think you're going to build a contending team, he's a guy that can probably catapult you in the playoffs.
Okay.
In theory.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Wide receivers, these rookies, they generally take off later in the season. We know that. We've seen the trends. Although we have seen guys like Jay Jett and Jamar, shake that up the last couple seasons.
Well, they're inhuman. Like they're like aliens from another planet, wide receiver planet.
Right. Well, guys, Jameson Williams here. He is one that I don't know. I don't know if I haven't watched enough film. I don't know if I haven't just seen it from him, but he was a player behind Olave, behind Garrett Wilson at Ohio State for the last couple seasons. He ends up transferring this last year to Alabama, puts up an Alabama-like stat line here, 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and then tears his ACL in the championship game. Goes to the Detroit Lions, though, at pick 12, so obviously there's still hope for him here, but he is joining kind of a loaded wide receiver group now. They have DJ Chark. Of course, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, you name it. They have a lot of good pass catchers in this offense here. Underdog ADP right now is 54. I am out on that ADP. Our guy Deepak Krona, he always tells us that in the first year coming off the ACL, wide receivers, running backs, they regress. So I'm hands off there. Nate, sounds like you are too, brother.
Oh, so you've got like this big pool of talented pass catchers for Jared Goff.
Yeah,
that's all.
So when is he like? What's the ETA on him being healthy?
He should be ready for week 1.
Oh, really?
Really? Are you?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
So here's the thing. The best part about his injury is that it was a clean ACL tear. It was nothing else. There was no MCL, no PCL, no nothing else. So the best part about that is it's been a high rate of coming back strong. Obviously, we're not going to see him make an impact in that much in year 1. I wouldn't expect him to, even if he was healthy, given that he's coming into this loaded wide receiver room. But like we said, talent usually wins out. This is a bet on the future for him. It's a bet on when the Lions draft their quarterback of the future, because we all know Jared Goff ain't it. But the good thing with Williams, he's been saying, and his doctors have been saying, and the Lions said, they all expect him to be ready for week 1. But it wouldn't shock me to see him open up the season on PUP. Just because they know they're not competing this year. They know they don't have to rush him. Why rush the guy you just drafted to be your future franchise wide receiver 1? So,
right.
Yeah. Yep.
But I do think he will be out there earlier than expected this season. It's just, it depends on, exactly how it goes. But he said he was ahead of schedule before the draft. So, there's been videos of him cutting. Yeah, he's doing good cutting and running.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what he does. I think I'm probably out at his underdog ADP as well. But I'd be happy to take a flyer on him in a couple weeks, because you can't teach speed. We know that. You can't teach what he has. The production profile is not really concerning to me, given that we know that he was behind, all this NFL talent at Ohio State. I'm not too concerned. It's like the Joe Burrow thing. People said, "Oh, he can't hack it," so he went from Ohio State to LSU, and he almost won a Super Bowl. So I'm pumping the brakes on that. I don't really care that much about that, but I do want to see what he does first, and I'll probably wait on him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat in redraft. I'm all over him in Dynasty, but I'm in the same boat in redraft. If he is ready by week 1, he's one of those guys where, because I believe in the talent, and he could be a home run later in the season, potentially. He's got the talent for it. He's one of those guys I'll throw on the end of my bench late in a draft, or I'll just keep if he goes undrafted. I mean, we don't know. It's May. I would keep my eyes on that waiver wire. He's one of those guys I'll have my eye on. But coming off the ACL, Jared Goff, it's not ideal for like the first half of his rookie year, which in redraft you need that. You know who
this is good for though? Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Everything's good for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Nate let me in on that joke yesterday. I hadn't heard it. I had not even heard this joke. And then literally, Nate, right after the show, I got on Twitter and I see like 3 everything's good for Amon. I was like, okay, apparently I've been under a shelf for the last 2 weeks.
Well, I saw one the other day where
Great
someone
joke.
posted like a new recipe, like it was a cooking something, and they were like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 1 confirmed. It's like, this is the Twitter I'm here for, guys.
That was great.
This is what I love.
So guys, moving forward down the list here, my boy Jahan Dotson out of Penn State here goes 16 to the Commanders. I think a little higher than some of us projected him to go. 5'11", 181, but the guy runs a 4.43, and he just has a crazy elusiveness rating. Just you watch this guy, he makes people miss. Nearly 1,200 yards, 13 total touchdowns here at Penn State with Sean Clifford and company at quarterback. Not a pro-style offense, not a pro-style quarterback here. So I think there is some work to do for Dotson, but I think he translates to the next level. College dominator rating, 44.3%, if you care about that. That's 90th percentile and 5th percentile in target rating. Scott, are you interested in Dotson with these like off-the-chart metrics at Penn State?
Where is his ADP?
63 right now, underdog.
I don't really have a problem with that. I was surprised he went as early as he did, but I mean, mostly because of you, Seth. Like I became a Dotson fan. I've watched some of his tape, and yeah, his metrics are great. You know, he had a top 5 target share. He's got really good hands. I think he fits well in that offense. I mean, they've got McLaurin, they've got Curtis Samuel, but I think the ship has sailed on Diami Brown, and you know, he's just another one of those guys who could pop that I'm very similar to Jameson Williams, where I'm not going out of my way to draft him and redraft, but end of bench or keep the old waiver eyes on him.
Yes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like Sam Howell hooking up with Diami Brown again? Just like
I took Sam Howell in a rookie draft recently. I had to. 3rd round.
Ooh.
Nate or Sam, do you guys have any interest in Dotson here? It is a lighter receiving room, but Curtis Samuel could be back healthy this season. He pretty much missed all of last year with that nasty groin injury he was dealing with. But there is Terry McLaurin. There is Diami Brown. Logan Thomas should be back off the ACL at some point as well.
They just got Carson Wentz. I'm sorry. I hate the landing spot. I'm looking at Jahan Dotson as a year 5 breakout when he gets out of his rookie contract and plays for another team. I just don't see it in Washington unless Ron Rivera does something and gets his team turned around. But he's not like, I don't know. I just have a hard time having faith in anything with this Washington football team.
Yeah, you talked about that yesterday a little bit too. Yeah.
I just it just seems like it's a kind of a mess.
Absolutely.
And if you're trading for Carson Wentz, like I would have ridden Taylor Heineke over Carson Wentz. And maybe we still see Taylor Heineke over Carson Wentz. Oh yes.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I don't
know, Nate.
Dude, Taylor Heineke at least has some heart. Carson Wentz had 2 opportunities to get a Colts team into the playoffs with a talented roster.
Yes.
Bad leader. And
Bad
that is my
leader,
issue with Carson Wentz.
100%.
He's never going to get a team behind him. At least Taylor Heineke can get a team behind him. That's the difference between Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco.
Sam,
I want to say I feel bad for Wentz. I don't really. But I do think he's gotten such a bad rap from everybody just because he really blew up the Colts playoff chances last year. But I really don't hate Jahan Dotson with him that much. I mean, the skill sets match. You know, the down the field work that Dotson will be able to do with Wentz, who loves to throw the deep ball because he's incapable of throwing the short to intermediate ball because he sails it over everyone's head. So I think it'll be good for him. You know, if they can somehow hook up a little bit, I think we could see it. Maybe they'll have breakfast this summer.
That's possible. We'll see what happens. I will say I think this is a bigger hit to Terry McLaurin than people think. Dotson to me is a clone of Deontay Johnson. Height, weight, very similar. Speed, very similar. 40-yard dash time, very similar. Even watching him at Penn State almost in person every single week this last year, I saw a lot of Deontay Johnson in him. I think it could be a volume threat. I think Scary Terry goes down my ranks even more than he has already. And I was out on him last year, and I saved myself. So I'm hoping we can save a couple more people this year as well. Before we move on, though, I did want to address this comment. This was pretty funny in the chat from our guy Craig Ruth here. I was recording something. Did I miss Scott defending Drake London's honor? Craig, I think you did. Scott did defend his honor. It was a long conversation. Audio version out tomorrow night. Check that out, Craig. You can hear it all back. Watch the replay on YouTube. Scott did a great job defending his honor.
Yeah, like and subscribe, Craig.
Absolutely. We appreciate Craig. 100%, man. Guys, I want to move on to another wide receiver that I don't love as much as everyone else, if we're being honest here, and it's Treylon Burks. He goes to Tennessee at 18 in exchange for AJ the Goat Brown, baby. You love what we saw in college from Treylon Burks. We've known about him for a couple years now. He's been a guy that a lot of people have been targeting in Devy leagues. However, he is 6'2", 224, very high dominator rating at Arkansas in college, but he performed very, very poorly at the combine here. 49th percentile in 40-yard dash, 48th percentile in catch radius, 10th percentile in agility score. All this to be said, he is now going as the wide receiver 34 in underdog. Pretty high amount of ADP to spend on him. He is having some breathing issues early on in mini camps as well. I'm hands off Treylon Burks. Sam, can you convince me otherwise, brother?
I can, or I can at least try to. I don't buy the breathing issues. I mean, it's acclimation. You can't simulate what these guys have been doing.
This dude's from Arkansas, Sam. This guy's from Arkansas, man.
Tennessee's higher.
I don't know if the elevation is that crazy different in the two places. I mean, Tennessee is probably higher. It is kind of in the mountains out there. So
that is true. That is true.
We can see what happens there, but you can't substitute the kind of simulated training that these guys have been doing, in their off-season workouts to like an actual field. And it is, like I said, it is brutally hot out there, guys. So look, Burks walks into probably the best situation for a rookie wide receiver. He's going to get a ton of targets this year. He's got Robert Woods, who's coming off an ACL injury and is 30. And
Nick Westbrook-Akine, baby.
Yeah.
Stop it, Seth.
So, look, Ryan Tannehill has got something to prove. They drafted Malik Willis. We all know Malik Willis is going to come for his job in a year or two. So Tannehill's got something to prove in what might be his last year as the starter here. Burks is the kind of guy that could make a guy like Tannehill look good. All he has to do is throw it in the short to intermediate and let Burks do the rest. This is a guy who is known for his yak ability at Arkansas. That's what he's good at. I'm not a big combine guy myself. I prefer to look at the tape and look at production and look at what I see. And what I see is that Treylon Burks was one of the better productive wide receivers in this class, from a tape standpoint. He doesn't pass the athletic portion of it, but he passes the film for me. And I'm a big fan. I don't know if I would go as high as 30 wide receiver 34 off the bat, but I think that's about where his ceiling is for this year. I currently have him as my wide receiver 29 for this season. So I think he gets up there once he gets acclimated. And I really do think he's pro ready, and I think he shows out because they have to replace the A.J. Brown production somehow. And Derrick Henry can't do it all. They're going to pay even more attention to Derrick Henry this year than they have in the past. And that'll open up the field for Treylon Burks to do a little more damage. And like I said, Ryan Tannehill doesn't have to hit him downfield. Let him work out of the short to intermediate and do what he does best, which is take the ball after the catch.
Scott, you on board here?
So, first of all, as someone broadcasting live from the West Coast, there aren't any mountains in Tennessee or Arkansas, so don't worry about elevation there. But Burks is one of those guys that Burks is one of those guys.
I live in Colorado.
Yeah, no, Nate has mountains. Burks, I was lower.
Florida
on
has
pre-draft.
mountains. What do you mean?
What's that?
Florida has mountains. What do you mean?
Magic Mountain. So Burks was a guy I was lower on pre-draft. I think I had him at like 5 or 6. I didn't have him up in the top. Honestly, the combine wasn't really the reasoning, but I agree with Sam. His landing spot is ideal. And another thing to keep in mind in this day and age, today's NFL, he had 38 rushes for 222 yards in college as well. So, I mean, he's got that in his skill set. I think he can be utilized in multiple ways. And with that run after the catch or the yards after contact type skill set, I think he's going to eat. I think he's going to eat pretty soon. But that's a little too high for me in redraft to just out of the gate. I foresee when I'm looking at a draft board around that ADP, there's going to be other safer or just other, more established receivers I would want to take over him. But I'm higher on him than I was. I
really like the situation. My hang up is it's Ryan Tannehill. And like he had the one season where he was out of his mind in Tennessee where gave Marcus Mariota the boot. And then I don't know, he just was kind of underwhelming last season. And given that he had Julio Jones and AJ Brown, like I expected more out of him. But that said, I mean, Treylon Burks is going to get a ton of targets. I don't mind the ADP. I'd probably take him right around there and be comfortable with it, feeling that he might outperform it by a little.
Yeah, Nate, I think you're reasonable there. I think that's a reasonable take, so I'll give you that.
All of my takes are reasonable, Seth. Come on.
Oh, get out of here.
Did we change your mind, Seth? Did we change your mind?
No, honestly, guys, it's still just too high of a price at 34. If his ADP falls closer
a back end wide, dude, the guy replacing AJ Brown as a back end wide receiver 3, like
okay,
the volume's gonna be there. If he doesn't land as a back end wide receiver 3, we're gonna make a bet.
I am worried about his conditioning and his health, guys. I'm going to be honest.
As someone who has lived with asthma their entire lives, don't worry about that dude. He's just got to figure out his inhaler routine, and he will be 100%.
Smoky Mountains, guys. Smoky Mountains.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
All right.
This is Jamar Chase dropping a few balls in practice.
Yes.
Like, that's all this is. Forget about it. It's not going to be a thing.
You should tweet that. However, I don't agree. I am concerned.
I've already seen someone tweet it. Okay.
That's
exactly what it is, though.
Okay, guys. Let's move
That's what
forward.
it is.
Treylon Burks, there's mixed feelings here. These guys all seem pretty in on that ADP.
Seth is wrong. We're right. Seth is wrong.
I would rather take Christian Kirk over him.
The humanity.
Okay, so Nate and I are right, and Scott and Seth are wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I like him,
but
okay. I'm probably not taking him that high. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
It's not because of he forgot his inhaler or any of that kind of stuff. The volume should be there, but they also hand the ball to King Henry like 600 times a year. So
yeah.
And I like Robert Woods, man. I know he's 30 and coming off an ACL, but I like Robert Woods, so I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna command a fair amount of targets as well.
Bobby Trees,
sure.
Scott's not getting off that train quite yet.
I like that guy.
He was your all-in last year, Scott.
Yeah, I know that worked out.
It was my all-in too, and we both got burned.
Remember when Philip Lindsay was my all-in that one time?
My rookie sleeper last year was Terrace Marshall Jr., so
happens.
To be that way.
Just killing it.
I will say, guys, potentially in my consideration for my all-in pick is going to be Christian Watson. Goes to Green Bay here at pick 34. Mm-hmm. I have been very up and down on Christian Watson, guys. Here's the battle. Here's the battle you have. Christian Watson is from North Dakota State University, home of Carson Wentz, home of Trey Lance. You're not
selling us here.
Okay,
this is Pierre Strong Jr.
Okay, but I'm just saying. Okay, here we go. This is the argument, though. He did not have a lot of college production. 104 career receptions, 2,100 yards, and 14 touchdowns. So not a great college profile. However, he is 6'4", he is 208 pounds. That profiles well to be an alpha. And then he was ranked in the 95th percentile in the 40-yard dash, speed score, burst score, catch radius, you name it. This guy's combine was off the charts, guys.
It was.
And I think I just love the situation he's stepping into so much. 241 vacated targets. And yes, I'm sure Green Bay is going to shift to a more run-heavy, defensive-minded approach. However, this is a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, guys. 85 TDs over the last 2 seasons, and 45% of those TDs between my guy MBS and Devontae Adams. No, you guys know how I feel about MBS.
That's not your guy. That's not your guy.
But guys, I just think I love Christian Watson. I love the opportunity here. Scott, I feel like you're the only one who might agree on me that I think he's an absolute slam dunk at wide receiver 46 and underdog.
I mean, Watson for me is one of those guys where, you know, depending on how my redraft draft board shakes out, he's the quintessential lottery ticket, high ceiling, high risk pick. He could go ape shit in Green Bay, or he could completely bust.
He'd be a high end wide receiver too.
His range of outcomes are very wide. It's a very wide range for him, just because of the Knox, a small school, not a lot of production to choose from in college. But he's an athletic freak. I mean, he was at the top of the list with everything. Baby. Relative athletic score, 40 time, burst score, speed score, freak score, all those scores. Now, I know that those are combine metrics, and we see things on tape, and there's a lot of different things to analyze. And I know the argument that's coming about how Aaron Rodgers does not trust rookies, and he only trusts people that he has been throwing to for a little while. But I'm not buying this. Allen Lazard is going to be this wide receiver 1 in the NFL just because Devonta Adams left. Targets are earned. Allen Lazard's a really good blocker, and he catches some passes here and there. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to have much of a choice, you know. And I don't think it's something
He's
where
got to throw it, man.
I don't think it's something where just because that's how it's been that he's going to be like, oh, there's Christian Watson, but he's a rookie. I'm not throwing to him.
Right.
I think it's just based on their wide receiver room. Like, who else is he going to throw to? So, but like I said, it is a huge risk because all that athleticism, all that potential, you know, it doesn't always play out. So I personally took him. I took him over Sky Moore in a rookie draft. Now the scenario there was I have a really good team to win now. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna pick this high ceiling guy to throw into my bench. But I mean, he's kind of a polarizing guy. You know, I feel like if he put up the numbers he put up athletically and he went to Clemson, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Scott, I want to say I was in a similar situation. I went Chris Olave, or I went Christian Watson over Chris Olave in a rookie draft.
Wow.
Very win now. This was pick 7. Olave had slid, but I just thought Watson was one of those guys at the end of the year. I don't have receivers. I had Calvin Ridley. So you know the situation I was in there.
Well, and I mean, I think Watson's going to be one of those guys where like there's going to be people that are very right and there are going to be people that are very wrong about Christian Watson. We'll just
Sam, you are chomping at the bit here. What is your take on Watson? Because I feel like you've just been dying after.
I think he's Sam's wide receiver 1.
He's not even close. He's closer to my wide receiver 10 than he is my wide receiver 1 at this point. He's strikingly raw. Like, this is like frighteningly raw to me. This is, you know, North Dakota State runs an offense that is extremely run heavy. There's a reason we didn't. That's the reason we didn't see him do a ton. But even for his profile, like his profile doesn't really match up to his production profile doesn't match up to his measurables at all. So I mean, the 2 routes that he ran the most in college were a dig and a curl route, and he didn't perform well at either of them. Those are the 2 25+% routes that he ran. So he ran over 50% of his routes were digs and curls, and he posted sub 60% success rates on both of them. That's not good. His third most was the 9 route, obviously the deep route, and he wasn't good there either. Only posted a 50% success rate. So I'm worried that he's a guy that's going to take at least a year to acclimate to how the NFL works. Also, this is Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. I don't care if he just lost Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't know. He's going to rather throw to Aaron Jones and Alan Lazard and whoever else he
Robert
can find.
Tonyan. Y'all forgetting that Robert Tonyan's going to be back and healthy to start the season.
He's coming
Don't
off
care, dude. I don't care. He's a red zone asset.
Look. He doesn't play. He doesn't play well against press. You want in a 6'4" athlete, you want someone that can beat press, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Christian Watson posted a 33% success rate against press. Not good. So I mean, you want to see at a prospect like his level and at the high draft pick that they took him at, you want to see him dominate his competition, right? That's what we typically see. He didn't do that, so I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on Christian Watson. I am completely fine if I'm wrong and he completely beats the numbers and he goes out and Aaron Rodgers and him, play like Cooper Kupp
breakfast.
and yeah. So, but I just
every
don't
day.
see it. And
I think he's my wide receiver 2 in redraft right now, rookie wise.
Oh wow! I think you're gonna.
So
I think
it's Garrett Wilson. I think it's
there,
Christian Watson, man. I think this is a Cinderella season for Christian.
I'm gonna send you his.
No way.
I'm gonna send you his reception perception profile after this, Seth, and I think I think you're gonna change your tune a little
all the
bit.
arrows.
Okay, Nate, would you rather take Watson at wide receiver 46 or Alan Lazard wide receiver 49?
Alan Lazard, wide receiver 49, not even a question.
Easily.
Look,
you're playing to get third in your league, is what you're playing for, bud. I'm playing to win.
I'm playing.
Scott and I are playing to win, dog.
Here's the thing, guys. We love Davante Adams, right? We love Davante Adams. And I know Scott alluded to this earlier, but this is very important.
What's up, Albert?
Very important.
Hey, Albert.
Davante Adams, since 2016, has finished outside of the wide receiver 1 tier twice. One of those seasons, he only played 12 games. Okay? Phenomenal production. However, his first 2 seasons, he was the PPR wide receiver 74 and the PPR wide receiver 66. He had 66 and 94 targets those 2 seasons. It's not like he wasn't seeing volume. It was that he wasn't seeing significant high he wasn't seeing significant targets.
Nate,
they weren't high value targets.
What years were those? Give me the years. What years?
2014 and 2015.
Hey, Jordy Nelson is on the team. James Jones might be in the building, and a
James Jones was not.
And none of those players did anything in their first years. So
none of them.
That's the
it's
problem.
different now.
None of them.
Guys,
it's not. Why is it different? Why is it different?
This is how Aaron Rodgers operates. He takes time to get to know you, and then he lets you break out.
Right. Amari Rodgers will break out before Christian Watson does.
The only difference right now.
That's the only difference right now. That's who Rodgers is going to have breakfast with.
The difference between now and then to me is, and I'm not saying it just means he's all of a sudden just going to pepper a rookie with targets. The difference between that is at those times when those first year players didn't do much, they had somebody better than Alan Lazard ahead of them. That's all I'm saying.
What's wrong with Alan Lazard?
He's a solid nothing. He's a great number 2 or number 3.
I don't think he's not a team's wide receiver
he's
1.
6'5", 220. Why can't he be an alpha?
He's been sitting behind Davante Adams.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
just like me.
I'm not very high on Lazard.
Okay.
I mean, I think honestly though, for reals, I mean, this conversation does hinge on how you feel about Lazard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you're lower on Lazard, the opportunities. I mean, to me, if Aaron Rodgers wants to be like, I'm going to throw to people I know, I'm going to throw to Lazard, I'm going to pepper Lazard, then yeah, that's fine. They just won't win very many games.
Okay.
But I think Sam with the reception perception stats. That's where my concern is. That's why I honestly don't have much of a problem with him being a rookie wide receiver 8, 9, 10 range. I'm not saying he should be higher than that. I'm just saying that I'm potentially willing to take a risk on the potential, but that risk is definitely there with his production profile being so poor against his competition at North Dakota State.
All right, guys.
That's fair.
Aaron Jones, wide receiver 1.
For Albert's
Stop
sake,
it.
For Albert's
Albert.
sake, we are
Hi,
moving
Albert.
forward, folks. We are moving forward for Albert's sake and his sanity. Last wide receiver we're going to focus on before we move down the list quickly here. We are almost at our time, so we're going to try to move quickly throughout the rest of this. Sky Moore, guys, West Michigan University. Chiefs goes to the Chiefs at pick 54 here. 5'10", 190, but he was a player who went for 94 receptions, 1,200 yards, 10 TDs this last season. He's from Shadyside, guys. He's from Duburg. Out here in Western PA. So there is some upside here. However, there is also some downside. A low burst score, a low catch radius. He is behind Juju Smith and Travis Kelce. And while this isn't, exactly Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, we've never seen a third option produce in a Kansas City offense behind Patrick Mahomes. Does it change here, Nate? Does it change here with Sky Moore, wide receiver 39 and underdog?
It does not. I'm not touching Sky Moore because I just don't think it's going to happen. I want it to, and I wanted him to land somewhere else. People are really high on him and drafting him, thinking that he's going to somehow replace Tyreek Hill's skill set. And I have news for you. There's nothing about him that indicates that he's even remotely close to being able to do any of the things that Tyreek Hill does. He's a wide receiver 2 in this offense at some point. It's not this year. It might be, 2023, 2024.
They got Mecole. They got MVS down there. They got some Bulls.
Juju.
Dude, I was on a pod last night. I was on Jake Trobig's Drinking and Talking Fantasy, and Dan Harms, who is a huge Kansas City fan and is one of the FF Astronauts guys, is convinced that Mecole Hardman is going to basically do what Tyreek Hill did, and that's what they are expecting him to do.
Oh, he's just trying to get his league mates to
Haven't we been
Mecole
saying
Hardman.
that? Haven't we been saying that for 3 years?
3 years,
yeah. I have not been saying that at any point. No,
Scott, Sam.
I just think it's interesting.
I like the talent. He put up some of the advanced college metrics. Receiving yards per team, pass attempt, target share. Yeah. He dominated his team's receiving production. But the knock is it's Western Michigan, and to me it's not. It's the Chiefs seem like, just smash landing spot, but that's a crowded kind of meh receiving room, in my opinion. So he could ascend to being, let's say, other than Kelce being Mahomes' top target early on, he could, but I don't think it's that likely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going back to reception perception because I use this every day.
No, it's
Sky
good.
Moore had a 95% percentile win rate against press coverage. He's 5'11".
Yes.
We don't see guys. We don't see guys come out of Group of 5 schools like this that often and put up these kind of numbers. Like, he has a really, really strong analytical profile. And no, I don't think he's going to be Tyreek Hill because nobody is Tyreek Hill.
Right.
But I do think he's the best wide receiver in this Chiefs offense. And I do think he grabs the slot role right away. Juju and Mecole and whatever other MVS is on the outside. And he runs with the slot role in this offense as a high volume slot role. So I'm all over him for year one. I targeted him on a bunch of dynasty teams. I think he comes out as one of the top 4 receivers in this draft at the end of the day because you don't see a mix of talent and landing spot this good that often. I mean, he's a guy that can kind of make every catch. He'll bulk up a little bit. So if he gets to 5'11", 200, we got a conversation for him because
he's about really the same size as me.
Okay, Nate, you could be a wide receiver.
I would love to be,
Nate. The point is he. Go ahead.
No, I mean Juju is only a few years removed, guys, from a 1,400 yard season. 111 receptions. That was only 2018, man. Juju's got that in him. He just hasn't had the opportunity. Like I can't see a rookie running away with this thing in Kansas City, man. I just can't.
Nope.
I don't know. Jesus. I don't know. The thing with Juju for me is he needs someone in front of him to really show out. And I think he might have it in Kelce. Yeah. It's going to be really it's really going to be really interesting. But someone who I kind of think who Sky Moore kind of reminds me of is Antonio Brown.
I knew
Very
you were going to say
interesting.
that. I knew someone
Very
was gonna say
interesting.
that.
Very interesting height, weight profiles here. The measurables matchup. He was very quick and speedy. He's got similar speed scores to Antonio Brown. And look, Antonio Brown came out of Central Michigan. Kind of on the low. We knew there were troubles with him off the field from the get-go, but his talent was never in question. And I don't think the talent's in question with Sky Moore either. So if Juju wakes back up, he's in the perfect offense to do it with. But I do think Sky Moore is the kind of guy that can do it all right away and come out like Antonio Brown in later years. Because if we remember correctly, Antonio Brown started off returning kicks and playing the slot in his first season in the NFL. He didn't do much else. Even if that's all Sky Moore is relegated to in fantasy and he's a fade for redraft, he's a screaming buy for Dynasty. And he's being drafted right around where he should, because I do think he is one of the futures of this Chiefs offense.
Okay, guys. I appreciate the insight there on these main wide receivers here. I just want to run through the other list of wide receivers, and I just need a yes or no. Are you investing them in redraft this season, even as a late round flyer? And if you do have any interest, why? I want to start with Wan'Dale Robinson, which was a surprising wide receiver off the board at pick 43 by the G-Men. Maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. It is the Giants at the end of the day. This is a loaded wide receiver room. Any interest? It's a no for me.
No.
Not in redraft.
Not in redraft.
No.
Okay. John Mechie goes to Houston at pick 44. I have a little bit of interest in this one. Maybe a late shot. I think he could be the number 2 there. I'm not a huge Nico Collins guy after seeing him in year 1, though.
I want to see when it comes back from the ACL.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to touch him this year.
Same for me. Not in redraft. Not Mechie.
Okay. Am I saying Tyquan Thornton? Am I saying that right?
I don't know. No one's ever heard of him.
Tyquan.
Yeah. Tyquan Thornton, he's a burner from Baylor. Pick 50. He goes to Bill Belly and the boys up in New England. I'm out on this one. It was a weird pick. There was a lot of better people on the board. Bill Belichick doing Bill Belichick things in the draft, guys.
Absolutely not.
Yep.
Did Mac Jones learn how to throw downfield yet? No? Okay, then no.
The only thing that has been more prevalent than Aaron Rodgers only throwing to people that have been on the team is the Patriots drafting god-awful wide receivers.
Yes.
So I can't see how this is going to be any. I mean, that obviously that doesn't mean that this, it's not a direct, that means that Tyquan Thornton is bad, but it's just
fast.
He is fast. He can run real fast.
Yes.
What about George Pickens? Pick 52 to the Steelers here. However, we don't know the quarterback situation. It's either Mitchell or it's going to be old Kenny Pickett down there in Pittsburgh, guys. I think I'm out in year 1 on George Pickens. I love the talent. I don't really love a lot of the situation though for Pickens. I think Freiermuth is the number 2 or 3 option in that offense.
George Pickens is the most talented wide receiver in this draft.
I'll take a flyer on Pickens.
I would take a flyer on Pickens.
I agree. I agree. I think he's an underrated talent coming out.
I really do did and still think he is the best wide receiver in this draft at the end of his career.
Okay. Wow. Hot. Okay.
Always first, folks.
Always
hot take there. All right.
Save the audio of this into the archives, Seth.
What about
talk in
Alex
5
Pierce,
years,
guys? Number 52 off the board in the draft, the Colts. I think Alec Pierce is interesting just because not only the talent coming from Cincinnati, but also just the situation he ends up in Indianapolis. He is probably going to slot in as the number 2 wide receiver outside of Michael Pittman Jr., unless they bring back T.Y. Hilton. It looks like it's him. It's Paris Campbell, what's left of him after a couple injury-riddled seasons. I'll take a flyer on Alec Pierce. Is anyone else with me there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's
I think so.
He's a downfield threat.
He's a downfield threat.
Yeah.
He also just destroyed in the combine metrics with his 40 and his athleticism, burst score, speed score, all that. He was top of the heap. So
6'3",
that to me is worth. Yeah, that to me is worth a flyer. in redraft.
I love him.
Velus Jones Jr., now 25-year-old wide receiver. He goes to Chicago
ARP.
at
Do
pick
we,
71, guys.
Does the league give out points for kick returns?
No.
Okay.
They should.
The 6
I heard he
might
got his
consider
ARP
possible.
card this weekend. I heard he got his ARP card this week.
So I'm going to take that as a no all the way around. There is an opportunity in Chicago, though. Let's not forget about it. There is somewhat of an opportunity, but I mean, I'm just not convinced that it's Velus Jones Jr. or Byron Pringle, though. Opposite of Darnell Mooney, it's going to be a rough road for Chicago, I think.
I don't know. I remember I was in
160 targets.
I was in a group chat that I think all 4 of us are in, and somebody was saying, "Oh, but look at Velus Jones' stats from college." And then a few minutes later, they're like, "Oh, wait, no, that's his kick return stats. That's all it's showing on Sports Reference for college football. It shows his kick return stats." So I don't know. I don't know what was going on with this pick, to be honest.
It's the Bears, but maybe they see something in him. You never know.
Fields apparently had input.
Well, then that should mean
We
something.
shouldn't be giving Justin Fields a second-year quarterback input, in my opinion. I'm sorry. How did that work out for Patrick Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he could have had Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift?
CEH year 3 breakout incoming.
This ain't the
that.
NBA. Players don't need to be playing GM.
No, Isaiah Pacheco.
Rojo
one
season.
breakout
It's Rojo season, boys.
That's Pacheco season, baby.
All right, guys.
Jerry
what about
Neely.
Jalen Tolbert to the boys?
Derek
The boys,
Moore.
Jerry's boys, pick 88. I'll take a flyer on him. Michael Pittman.
I hate how much I love that pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a
I'm with
flyer
you,
on
Sam.
Jalen Tolbert. I like it.
I hated how much I love that pick because it's such a good pick. He's
It's a very
he's
good
gonna he's gonna be the wide receiver too for them this year, and I hate it.
I'll take a
This
flyer
is
on
gonna
him.
be-
He had the highest college dominator of the group, of the whole class.
Yeah,
Wow, really?
I'm a fan.
Above
Do you know what that
50%.
number was, Scott?
It was 51.2%.
Wow. Okay, I'm in. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm into.
He's and just talking rookie draft. He's been I think he's been a great value. I've seen a lot of people posting their picks. A great second round wide receiver in rookie draft.
I've seen him go in the 3rd round in a ton of drafts.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I snagged him up as much as I could.
Yep, him and David Bell, good value.
That's our
Yeah,
next
so-
guy, Scott. David Bell, 99th off the board to Cleveland. I love David Bell. He's been a great value in dynasty rookie drafts, and I think we're going to see what happens with Deshaun Watson. I think probably in the next month or two, we're going to get, they're meeting in Dallas, right? Or somewhere in Texas. I don't know exactly where, but
He's
somewhere
gonna
in
get suspended.
Yeah, we're going to see what the suspension is, but I think I am interested in David Bell. The only person in front of him is Donovan Peoples-Jones for that number 2 wide receiver role. It could be David Bell, man. He was a baller, and a dog at Purdue, man. So I'm in on David Bell.
I'm worried about the first 6 games of the season when it could be Baker Mayfield actually starting at quarterback because Deshaun Watson's suspended. That
Baker's
kind
gonna
of
ball
makes
if that happens.
Jacoby
though.
Brissett season, boys. Jacoby
Oh,
Brissett
gross.
season.
Gross. There's too much up in the air in Cleveland for me to I love his talent. And I think that in 2023, it's a different story. I'm singing a different tune, but for this year, I just don't know that I love it.
All right,
for me,
guys,
I mean,
I love David Bell.
go ahead, Seth.
last one, Danny Gray to the 49ers in round 3 here. Danny Gray is interesting. It's pick 105, though. I think I like him more as a 4th, 5th round pick in Dynasty than I do in redraft this season, especially with Deebo Samuel likely staying on the team. His role at best is the wide receiver 3 in San Francisco, which is behind George Kittle as well. So I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, he's
No.
fast. That's pretty much it. The rest of his college production profile is very middle of the pack.
Unfortunately,
to
Trey
me-
Lance will never hit him.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead. We're going to move to our final segment. We're going to try to get this giveaway in as well, but let's get ready for some Sure Things Sleepers of the Week Rookie Tight End Edition.
It's the sure thing. Sleepers of the week.
All right. So what we know about this tight end class right off the rip, guys, is outside of Trey McBride, it's not great. He went 55 off the board of the Cardinals, but he's still behind Zach Ertz. So if you want to take a shot in a deeper league, I could see it on Trey McBride. However, we just want to talk about some guys who you should be paying attention to, whether you're playing in a 16-team league, whether you're playing in a team with just a very deep bench like Scott Fishbowl, maybe a tight end premium league as well. Just some players that you should be paying attention to. Scott, I want to start with you, man. Who is your sure thing sleeper of the week? Rookie tight end edition, baby.
Man, sure thing and rookie tight end are very combative terms. But I mean, I went down the list. I tried to stay away from the top few, of Trey McBride, but I'm going with Charlie Kohler from the Baltimore Ravens. And this is a little bit of a tricky one for redraft because, they also got Isaiah Likely and obviously they have Mark Andrews. So they have and Nick Boyle's still there. So they have a pretty loaded tight end group, but they do throw to the tight end quite a bit. Right now, ESPN has Kohler listed as the tight end 3 on the team, but I believe he will overtake Nick Boyle, who has had lots of injury issues, and be the team's tight end 2. And he comes from the state of Iowa, not University of Iowa that spits out Hall of Fame tight ends right and left, but Iowa State. And he was not great at inline blocking. He was good at blocking downfield, great pass catcher. Athletic enough. And I was reading, the guy's name is Mike Band with NFL Next Gen Stats, reading up on Kohler, and he has him as one of his day 3 hidden gems of this draft. He has a couple of metrics, production score, an athleticism score, and a draft score. And Kohler, the way he ranked in those scores in these Next Gen Stats was the highest of any day 3 tight end ever. There's never been a tight end that went on day 3 that was this good in these athletic stats. So I'm just keeping my eye on him. And it's tough with a tight end behind somebody like Mark Andrews, but being the Ravens and how much they target the tight end. I mean, he could, now we're talking rookie tight end sleepers, basically. He could have some relevance. So I'm keeping my eye on him. Because I think if he gets a shot, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be good in the NFL. And I think the Ravens are a great fit for him.
All right. I like that one. Grand Salami, what you got for us, brother?
I picked Kate Otten out of Washington. This is interesting because, I think Rob Gronkowski ultimately decides to retire. It doesn't seem like his heart's in it anymore. And OJ Howard's gone to the Bills. And all you have is Cameron Brate. So Otten comes in there, first pick off the board in the 4th round. So he gets decent draft capital there. And look, this is the guy who played all 4 years in college. And he has good blocking ability. He can line up in line or as a big slot. And he doesn't really do anything amazing, but he also doesn't have any glaring weaknesses either. So he's the kind of guy that can catch the ball. He has good run after catch ability. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. He moves well. But it's going to be a bit of a learning curve for him. So I don't know if we're going to see him have a ton of redraft impact right now. But in a year or so, Cam Brate's starting to get up there. He's never been a boom guy anyways. We could see him kind of take a back seat to Otten, who has some athletic ability and athletic burst to him. And we could definitely see him make a impact down the line.
I like that. Cade Otton, he's definitely a name to keep in mind, especially if Gronk does retire. Grand Salami, hitting it out of the park there. I like that one. Nate, bring us home here, man.
All right, so I really like Daniel Bellinger. He's situation. Great situation. Evan Ingram's gone. He's behind Ricky Seals-Jones and Jordan Akins. However you pronounce the AKINS, whatever. Here's the thing, though. He is an elite blocking tight end. He's good both in pass blocking and run blocking, which keeps him on the field more often because he's a good ass. Like, if they're going to run a lot of play action, try and get Saquon Barkley more involved in the offense, he's going to be on the field because he can block, but then he can play the Evan Ingram role where he's going out, running routes, chip blocking, getting open. He's very talented. I see him having an expanded role in this offense, possibly like back half of the season, if he can get a familiarity with Daniel Jones.
I'll keep an eye out for him. I like that.
I mean,
like
I'm not saying like take him in the third round to tight end premium even. Just like keep your eye on him a little.
Okay. I'm going to go with Jelani Woods. I'm going to bring us home with Jelani Woods here.
I like this one.
And, I mean, this was definitely the easiest one to probably take. He was the second tight end off the board. Out of Virginia, he goes to the Colts at pick 73 here. And he has a very interesting story behind him. He's a Cedar Grove, California kid, very, prolific high school out there for sports. Started as a QB, ended up going to Oklahoma State University and played a little bit of wide receiver. Didn't do much out there. Ended up transferring to Virginia here in 2021 for his final season. And he lit it up at tight end, guys. 44 receptions, nearly 600 yards, 8 touchdowns. It's in the ACC, so not one of the, top 3 divisions, I would say, in college football, but still up there. But I think what you like here is you like what he did at the Combine, boys. He's 6'7", he's 260, and he ran a 4.61 40-yard dash, man.
Jesus
this
Christ,
guy's almost as fast as Sky Moore, man.
6'7".
6'7". That's not fair.
Yeah, and he's
The
almost
next Mo Alley Cox.
Sky Moore.
The
I'm still waiting on the Kylan Granson breakout. Come on now.
Any day now.
Yep,
Any day
on
now.
my taxi squad.
And that's exactly what the issue is here. We have Mo Alley Cox. We have Kyle Granson coming back here for his second season as well. So there is some competition. But if Jelani Woods has, just anything in the tank, I think we see it here in the rookie season. I'm not someone who's really going to invest in dynasty tight ends in redraft later, or in dynasty leagues later, just because I don't want them sitting on my bench for 2 or 3 years and not doing anything. I've been down that road with Harrison Bryant. I had Dawson Knox sitting on my bench for 2-3 years, and then he finally did something after I cut him. So it's a tough game to play here.
Yeah,
takes time.
Yeah, but if there is an opportunity, I think it could be Jelani Woods here. Matt Ryan, he's shown in the past, whether it's Tony G, whether it's Austin Hooper, or Kyle Pitts, he can get the ball to the tight end. I think the Colts are on the upswing. I think Jelani Walker is going to be a part of that, man.
Jelani Woods.
Oh, Jelani Woods. My apologies.
Delaney Walker.
Yeah, the next Delaney Walker. We spent too much time talking about
Kenneth Walker.
No, Ken Walker.
Ken Walker. Ken Walker.
Ken Walker.
Wait,
Ken
Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker.
PJ
Luke
Walker.
Skywalker.
Luke
Skywalker. Okay. I like where this is
No,
going.
I agree, Seth. Out of all the rookie tight ends in redraft, the one I want after McBride is definitely Woods.
Let's go, baby.
I want a 6'7" guy that can run a 4.6 40. Good Lord.
Jelani.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Bro. He's fast.
I just want to hang out with him.
I'm sure he wants to hang out with you too.
Hey.
I'm sure he wants to hang out with
you. Hope he's happy.
I'm sure you've seen me on the IBT media.
Man. Let's give Jelani a call. Let's get his agent on the line. Kyle, that's your homework for the week.
He's watching right now.
Okay.
Oh, he probably is. I would imagine.
He's just shy and he's not in the chat.
Definitely.
Totally.
Well, guys, here's the time to get in the chat because we are about to do our giveaway to end the show. That is all we have on these rookies. I'm sure we're going to be talking about them throughout the offseason. But Sam, thanks so much for joining us, man, for this rookie breakdown. It's been an absolute pleasure, but we do have a giveaway to give. Once again, we're celebrating 200 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, everybody who has helped us reach that goal. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of trial and error that's gone into this, but we appreciate it so much. We're going to be giving away a ticket to Draft Night Out, the largest fantasy football draft event within the U.S. in the Dome, baby, up in Canton, Ohio, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is on August 13th. Shout out to our guy, Dale DeMott of Eat Sleep Fantasy and the Cooperative Media Network for hooking us up with this giveaway. Guys, I've compiled a list of everyone who's commented in a show the last 2 days here. We got Royal Slade, we got Albert, we got Chris Udovich, we got the GMM Network, our boy Craig Ruth, Gary Zam. I didn't include any IBT people. Sam, I couldn't include you as well. I know you were in the comments as well, but wanted to make this fair. So we're going to give it away. Who you guys got? Any favorites here coming into this?
I got to go.
I mean, I'm knowing that Royals first name is actually Royal. That just like made my week the other day. So I'm voting for my boy Royal up there in Calgary.
No, I think Gary Zam's got it.
Okay.
I love Gary. Gary, I love you. You know I love you.
I have a gut feeling it's going to land on Gary Zam, olive green or whatever green that is.
Here we go, baby. For the Draft Night Out ticket. Thank you for 200 subs, everybody. Here we go. The pressure is on.
Come on. No whammies, no whammies.
Ugh. And it is.
Oh, so close.
Oh!
God.
The GMM Network. We will be in contact with you. I don't think they're in the chat right now, but we appreciate them tuning in to an episode this week. We'll be in touch with that Draft Night Out ticket. It might still be on. If the GMM Network cannot attend Draft Night Out, it might be one of these other couple lucky winners as well. Guys, one more time, thank you so much. Nate, you're my ride or die. You've been with me this week. It's been a fun double feature. Kyle in the back end as well, holding it down as always, man. So shout out to you guys. Scott, thank you for bringing your fantasy analysis tonight as well.
It was good to hang out with you, Sam. I don't think I've done a pod with you before.
No, it's first time for everything.
It's fun.
Absolutely.
First time for everything. I just like hearing myself talk. So
don't we all though?
Yes.
Well tell us where else they can hear you talk,
this, right?
Tell us where else we can hear you talk. Tell us whatever else you have going on this summer, man.
Where do you talk?
Yep. You guys can always find me on Twitter yelling about one thing or another. Golf, fantasy football, life, whatever it is. Over on Twitter at Swagman95. All my written work right now over at Rotoballer and my audio work over at High Floor Football at High Floor FB.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sam, for tuning in. Check him out over at Rotoballer, over at High Floor Football. We appreciate that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in these last couple of days. We'll be back here in 2 weeks. We got a couple loaded shows coming for you this summer. For Scott, for Sam, for Nate, I'm Seth Woolcock, and keep it in between until next time, folks. We'll be back soon. Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.